Do you pay estimated taxes?
I would like to. We don't.
I don't pay estimated taxes, and I don't currently have plans to start paying estimated taxes.
Why? Don't you have don't you get fined?
Yeah. So you pay a penalty if you don't pay estimated taxes, which kind of bullshit. I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to be the anti-tax guy. I actually think it's good to pay your taxes. I want the government to have money and exist, and I want social services to exist and national parks to exist. So.
This is a new background. Where are you?
Oh, you can tell how well my brain is working today. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I am staying with one of my college roommates in Atlanta. And after 4 years away from the South, my body has apparently completely forgotten how to function in a land of pollen and pollinators. Every time I come to the South now, it's like the first 3 days I'm here, my nose is just like, fuck you, dude. So, yeah, that's where I am. Check out my sweet setup. I've got my suitcase with a couple books on it.
Amazing.
Little, who needs a fancy stand-up desk when you've got a suitcase desk?
You can just record things. You can just do things.
Don't have the fancy mic today. The MacBook microphone is shockingly decent.
Yeah, your audio level's better than mine for what it's worth. So we should swap.
Dude, it's all an illusion. It's all just stuff, and you don't need the stuff to do things. You can just do the things without the stuff.
Yeah, you just record your vlog on an iPhone, and put it on the internet. I might get a couple 100,000 subscribers that way. That's the Jackie Cho.
I just heard the other day that. Dude, do you remember "Call Me Maybe"?
Mm-hmm.
The song, the pop song.
Yeah.
That was recorded on a MacBook.
All right. Well, that's sick.
Yeah, that was recorded on a MacBook, on iMovie. It was just them holding a MacBook.
I think have you heard "Here With Me" by David?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. I don't know, popular Gen Z sort of song. I think that guy did it on his iPhone with an iPhone digital audio workstation and just cut it up.
That's sick.
It's pretty crazy.
That's wild.
Kids these days, man.
There really are no excuses. Yeah, I think we might have a little bit of lag. It feels like we're lagging a little bit.
Oh, definitely. We definitely are lagging a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh well.
Well.
All right. If you're listening, we're sorry. Well, we'll do better. Not this week or next week. I'm traveling next week, so I will also have. I'll be on hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Zencaster's pretty good though at cutting out pauses, so maybe there will be no lag to the user. It's just lag to us.
Maybe. Yeah.
User, listener, what do you call this? Yeah. Okay.
All
right.
People.
What's going on with you? What's going on in Miscreants Land?
I don't know, man. Giant tax bill.
Oh yeah.
That's
sucks making money, huh?
I know. It's the worst.
Life was so hard to be profitable.
Yeah, especially if all of our profits just went into last year's taxes. No, it's
not all of your not all of your profits went into last year's tax.
All of our profit this year so far are paying off the taxes from last year.
Okay, that's very different. This year so far is a quarter of the year.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's good. It's fine. We will just have more taxes to pay next year, and it'll just be this.
Yeah.
Okay,
wait. Controversial topic.
Yeah.
Do you pay estimated taxes?
I would like to.
So no.
I would like to. We don't.
I don't pay estimated taxes, and I don't currently have plans to start paying estimated taxes.
Why? Don't you have don't you get fined?
Yeah,
not but, I don't. Okay.
Yeah. So you pay a penalty if you don't pay estimated taxes, which kind of bullshit. Okay, government. I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to be the anti-tax guy. I actually think it's good to pay your taxes. I want the government to have money and exist, and I want social services to exist and national parks to exist. So I don't want to be the anti-tax guy. At the same time, as much as I want all of the national, public services to exist, I also don't love giving the government an interest-free loan if I don't have to.
Right. Or getting fined for it if you don't.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine with getting fined for it if I don't. I don't know. But but yeah, so basically my thought is the penalty that I pay is relatively small. Um, and I don't know what my income is going to be quarter to quarter right now. And so I would rather not tie up money in an estimated tax payment. And then because if I have a good quarter and then the next quarter I make nothing, that
Mm.
those two things will kind of balance each other out and I will end up overpaying on my estimated taxes. And I'd rather just pay the penalty and have access to the cash when I need it. Um, so I'm kind of just willing to eat that penalty right now until my income is more predictable.
That's fair. I mean, that's also been our case through the years where like our cash flow is a lot less lumpy than it used to be when I sent invoices late, and you know we also didn't have a steady stream of clients and all that stuff. So I'm with you. I also just found out that like because we did well last year, I now owe New York City like metropolitan business tax as well because we are now like
Oh,
a New York City nexus because we operate out of here. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I don't
Um,
know. I'm like one more frustration away from just going to take and learn and be a CPA at this point, or at least or like take like a giant tax
God, no.
course.
You couldn't pay me enough money to do that.
I
Absolutely not.
I don't
Sounds
you know how
horrible.
spite driven I am. Or I have a there's not a literal target, but it's written on my whiteboard in front of me of like things I hate, and taxes slash the Internal Revenue Service is currently on that list. So
Yeah.
um
Doesn't have to be this complicated, but it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of like governments and money and all that stuff, like I'm a little bit worried about it. It didn't occur to me until I don't know, I was driving and then I was like, oh shit, might fuck the ecom side of miscreants, and I don't know. Um, we're like trying to figure out like should we just buy a bunch of blanks? We're talking to our printer to see if we can just buy a bunch of blanks right now. While they're not, I mean, they're not uh like they're not made in China, so it's not a crazy tariff, but I also would not like to pay anywhere between 15 to 30 or whoever's whim. I don't know. It's kind of different. Like I think Nicaragua for one of them, maybe Portugal for another. They're all different. Everything kind of comes from everywhere. I think maybe the hats are technically Yupong, so they are a Chinese brand. So God, if I have to double the price of a cap, I'm gonna lose it. Um,
Yeah, that's gonna be tough. I don't know. Yeah, I don't. Do you think people would absorb that? Like people would pay double?
I don't know. Like maybe because we are like streetwear is all about brand equity, right? And like as you build that, you get to charge more, right? Like Brain Dead charges $80 for a t-shirt, for example. We charge 28. Um, so kind of maybe, but I also don't want like I just think it's wrong. I just think it's wrong to charge like $60 for like a shitty little not shitty, but like a dad cap. Like it just is against my principles as a person.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't want to pay $60 for a dad cap.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's another thing that anxiety is slowly, just building internally, bubbling. But yeah,
Yeah, that sucks. I hope. Um, I mean, I guess it is prices are going to go up, right? Like
yeah,
your costs are going to go up for sure.
yeah,
That's just going to happen at this point, unless, I mean, who knows what the Orange Man will decide tomorrow? But
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, there's definitely going to be like it's the company that we use for the majority of our blanks are like a lot of them are Canadian companies, so there's at least that amount added, and that's going to be whatever is in that supply chain. So we'll see, we'll see. Um, yeah, what's going on with you? How's Metamonster? You got a demo after this?
I do have a demo after this. Yeah, so the super positive thing is I've been able to get in front of people and talk to people. I've had some really good conversations this week. I talked to a couple of old friends, which has been cool. Folks who run web design agencies,
Cool.
talking to them. Consensus from both of them was like, hey, I think there's something interesting here. I wouldn't pay a monthly subscription for it, but I would maybe pay as you go,
Mm,
which is interesting. I take that with a grain of salt because anytime someone says, I would pay if, you
mhm.
kind of have to go, I don't, that, mm,
That's like someone saying, "I would give you $20 because you're my friend, and I would buy you dinner." You know? That's like the cost of a w a one-time run of the product, you know? It changes if you're like, what if it costs $1,000 to run or $500 to run once? It's
yeah, but it's also just like all the product advice I've ever read is like, don't believe what people say they would do.
yeah.
Focus on what people do and have done in the past. Um, so, but it's interesting, right? And we're seeing this not just from them, but we're also seeing, you know, from in like user behavior, people will sign up, they'll kind of use the tool, and then they'll cancel. Um, and like we probably uh our best lead right now. We have a user who's been on a trial. They actually just converted their trial. I'm
Nice.
checking with them to make sure they're cool with that. And that it wasn't just like, they didn't just lose track of time. But they said, yeah, I see myself primarily using this for audits right now, and I won't have another audit for like a month or two. And so, that's someone who has actually put a credit card down and is using the tool and maybe even willing to pay for the tool, but they're still saying, and this isn't like shocking, right? Like if you just use logic, right now the tool is for page titles and meta descriptions. And like, depending on the volume that your agency is doing, the volume of new clients that your agency is working with, you just may not have a need for that one feature. Um, I was just catching up with my friend Asia, who runs Demand Maven here in Atlanta, and she put it really succinctly. She's a big fan of the jobs to be done framework, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you do one job right now, and in order to justify like a subscription cost, you probably need to do more jobs for people. You need
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which yeah, I think that's kind of the boat that we're in." Um, and so we're just having some internal strategy conversations right now to figure out, we're still trying to figure out who our ideal customer is. Still think it's probably small SEO agencies, um, or folks with like an SEO focus. Um, but still trying to figure that out. You know, I think for right now, we don't want to explore the pay as you go option just because like I want to build a SaaS product more than I want to build a pay as you go usage based product. I'm not opposed to it if we need to go that route. Like if we tried it some more things and can't add enough value to make the subscription feel worth it, then I'm willing um to try that. But yeah, I think right now we're having like strategic discussions of like, okay, what do we do to like how do we want to tackle building more jobs into the product, being able to build the product in a way that it can handle more jobs and deliver more value. Um, and yeah, we're also talking about pricing and like playing around with that a little bit, but I think at the core we need to figure this out. Um, and we've always wanted the product to evolve beyond page titles and meta descriptions, so that's not really a concern. The question is just how do we want to do that?
Yeah.
Um, and so the two paths that we're thinking about are one, just staying the path that we were on, which is just like continue to make incremental improvements, layer in new features. Like, um, we were planning to work on, a couple of nice to haves, like, um, ignoring pages and and then like, um, looking for missing keywords in page titles and meta descriptions. And then also, um, going from there into, all right, now let's start looking at H1s, H2s, image alt text, internal links, things like this. And so we can just build those in kind of one at a time, keeping the product structure much the same as it is now, where, you know, okay, cool. We roll out headers as a feature. Headers are now in the issues table, and they're now an option to generate on each page, and an option to publish to um, your CMS. Oh, by the way, we did get our WordPress plugin approved.
I saw it.
So our WordPress
Congrats.
plugin is live, which is pretty sick.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's like the sort of one path. The question we're asking ourselves is like, is that going to move the needle enough, fast enough to convince people that like this is worth paying a subscription for? And so then the other path that we're exploring is taking a bit of a bigger swing. And this goes back to some of the conversations we've had on the podcast in the past about like leveraging the flexibility of AI. And so it's like, do we just add a prompt, an open-ended prompt interface, chat interface into the product with like preset prompts or something like that, so that you can suddenly go from, all right, the tool does two things, page titles and meta descriptions, to now the tool does, kind of an infinite number of things, like whatever you can dream up with, the context of a website and the power of an LLM. And, I've been testing this messaging with a couple people, and like, one of my web design friends was immediately like, he uses another tool that has that kind of functionality. And he was like, yeah, that would make it really interesting to me. But a lot of the people I run this by are kind of like, what would I do with that? Like what would I, like, what's the use case you have in mind? And so I think that like, that's not necessarily telling me we shouldn't do this, but I don't think we should talk about it like I'm talking about it right now. So I don't think we should present the feature as chat with your website. If we go this route, I think it should be more like just this becomes how Metamonster works, is like you run, and maybe we don't even call them prompts, like you run optimizations or something like that. And you can like, use natural language to create a new optimization or something. And we just make sure we have several built in by default. So yeah, this is, I'm just thinking through all of this right now, and trying to figure out where we go from here. But yeah, this is the thing we're debating. Like, do we just keep kind of layering things in one at a time, or do we try to build a more flexible system that would allow us, take us a little longer to build, but then allow us to drop, 8 new features at once, where it's like, all right, cool. Now Metamonster will generate a voice and tone guide for you. Now Metamonster will analyze content gaps and suggest new content for you to write. Now Metamonster will look for typos on your pages or broken links on your pages. Now Metamonster will suggest internal linking opportunities. Like the internal linking thing, I think an open-ended prompt interface could do an okay job of that if it has all the context, because we've crawled it and it's all there.
Yep.
And we can feed all of that to it. It could scan your entire website and look for internal link opportunities. I don't know how good it'll be, but I mean, that's kind of how we would build that feature under the hood anyway.
I mean, I think going back to the like lack of user creativity when given like a flexible platform, I think how many folks tend to solve it is just through content, right? And it means you get a lot of content ideas off of it, right? How to generate internal links with, or how to find internal link opportunities with Metamonster, how to do XYZ with Metamonster. Like Notion was like, here's a super flexible workspace, but then the only way people like really wrap their heads around it is like, oh, here are templates, here are like Notion for agencies, Notion for freelancers, Notion for software teams, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I think it's one way to go about it. What is the delta between, like how long does it actually take to build that, do you think?
Not sure yet. Um,
Okay.
Austin's doing research this week uh, to try to think through. We got to think through the user experience and like I'm sure there's ways to stagger it so that we can like kind of there's an MVP version of this and then there's more advanced versions
Yeah.
that we can layer in over time. Um, but uh, yeah, I'm not sure yet. I would guess like even an MVP version would be at least a few weeks of work, if not a
Mhm.
month.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Like an MVP that's
Here's
actually usable and useful.
Yeah, like
Because because I think like we could throw together an MVP that's just like literally just a chat window with all of the context of your website. Like we could probably throw that together in like a week or something, but
mhm.
that's not going to be useful. Like people are going to be like, what the fuck do I do with this? Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and also it's not, like, more useful than it's not more useful than how we're currently doing it, which is use Metamonster, pull down all the markdown, put in one markdown file, drop into Claude, and then chat with Claude. And more so, like, with Claude, the way we're using it now is pull it down to a markdown, but then put competitor scrapes all in the same project so that we can sort of look for, like, messaging gaps and things like that. Um, yeah.
yeah. The other thing that worries me about this is like, well, one, does this just open us up to we have to build a bunch more shit that we don't necessarily want to build? Like, do we now have to build a Word doc kind of thing in order to have like good
Right.
a good place to output the stuff
It's
from
very
these prompts?
very hard
Uh,
in a way. Pain in the ass.
yeah, I don't want to do it if I can avoid it.
Yeah.
Um, and then it's like, I've talked before about like, ha- you know, if we know what each prompt is and we've got it like all kind of structured, it's easier for us to sync it to your CMS. It's easier for us to put it in our interface and like display it in a way that's really useful versus like the more flexibility, the more challenge there is there. Um, and then like, you're talking about Notion and like, educating people on how you could use this stuff. We're a tiny bootstrapped company. Like we don't have the time and the resources to crank out like, Notion level content on how to use our tool and like take
Right.
time to convince people that it's valuable and that it, it fills a need for them. We need something that people will immediately grok and go,
Yeah.
cool, this fills a need I have. I would pay for this right now.
Yeah. I guess that's the fun part about having constraints, right? The fun, miserable part of, like, doing it this way. Um, but yeah. I mean, it also sounds like you just need to talk to more people at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
um,
think so.
you might
We're gonna start.
more about mm,
Yeah, we're gonna start like doing some design work, like thinking through, doing the research into what it would take to build things like this. And I think like one of the things I'm thinking about today after my most recent conversation is like how much of this like building things to be more flexible would help us roll out more features faster. And like we don't we can choose how much of that flexibility to expose to users. And so like
mhm,
maybe it's as much about building like internal tooling for us to, you know, test new prompts and then roll out new prompts. Like maybe there's a way to like sort of leverage the flexibility of AI without like overwhelming users with that flexibility. And like maybe not, maybe that's the wrong approach, but um,
I think
like
it's a good middle ground. I think it's like
there's something, yeah, rolling around in my head that I haven't fully formed yet. That's like, what if we just look at Metamonster as, how do we build like a more flexible, like rules engine, grid system with like flexible fields and things. And then we can choose whether or not to expose that to users, but we can start using that to like quickly iterate and test and roll
Yeah.
stuff out.
I mean, I think it I feel like the missing piece now is just literally how long does it take, and how feasible is it? What I like about that though is if you are dog fooding your own flexible like building system or architecture or whatever, you don't have to expose it to users until you fine tune that by building more and more features on using that. And that way, when you actually launch it, it's not like it's not like crappy, but there's a bunch of use cases already pre-built. And every time you launch a feature through that in itself is you know, yes, you don't have time like Notion to go and write a bunch of these pieces, but you're going to promote each feature anyway. So you have some level of product marketing kind of built into that. Um, until you, and then, I think that way you can also, you iterate faster. It makes clients happier, not that we're unhappy, but I I think one of the reasons actually, like, as users of Metamonster, one of the things that we enjoy is the fact that as we make feature requests, we get them responded to pretty quickly from you and Austin. And this would only let that be faster, right? Like, especially like it's not like we ask for like give us internal linking or alt text or anything like that. But as you get more of those requests, like product velocity is like a nice thing for I'm sure is really nice for client churn. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. Just depends on how long it's gonna take. It could be.
Yeah. And maybe the thing to do is to like switch to pay as you go pricing for now and like make Metamonster relatively cheap and focused. Be like, all right, Metamonster for right now is like a metadata tool and like it's gonna be relatively cheap and just here it is, get in and use it. And then we start, you know, working towards this bigger vision of like building a more flexible like kind of system that we can roll out features
Mhm.
in. And then, we can update our pricing as we start to roll some of these things out. I don't know. But I'm worried that that would get people kind of, it would either attract the wrong users or get people kind of frame MetaMonster in the wrong way to people.
Yeah, I think, like, at that point yeah, I know you're gonna hate this idea, but, like, at that point, I think you're better off just selling a lifetime subscription with capped features, like a capped feature set. Um, if someone's gonna do pay as you go, um, yeah, I feel like I would rather just say, "Give me this forever for a lump sum of money." Um, see, I knew you were gonna hate it. I knew you were gonna hate the idea,
I mean,
but
plenty of AI tools right now where you buy a credit pack and then you just like, you use those credits and then when you need more, you top it off.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess my point is that, like, you can do that with a lifetime subscription as well, like, Job Poorly does this, you get a lifetime
Yeah, but
subscription.
with a lifetime subscription, you don't ever get someone to pay you money again. Versus with credit packs,
Yeah,
you
you
do.
do, no, so that's my point with Job Boardly, like, you pay the lifetime subscription, so you don't pay for the whole SaaS monthly billing thing, so you have it, but then using Job Boardly, like, there is a usage-based pricing locked into it, like, you get with the lifetime subscription, you get 750 credit back or this is what they used to do, they get 750 credits, that's 750 jobs that it backfills, but if you want other things or more features or just more generation like backfills for them for jobs, then you buy other credit packs to kind of keep it going. But like, I guess my point is the nuance in my head is that lifetime subscription still frames it as like this is a SaaS product. You just are getting it on the ground floor early rather than like your use case for MetaMonster starts as just the pay as you go sort of thing. I don't know. I feel like you guys are not the same like just the utility API type of tool, like a webhook as a service or a Stripe even or anything like that. So it doesn't make sense to me. Um, also, I don't want to pay the credits per generation as I go, right?
So that's the thing about. The other thing is like, if we go this route, do we need to switch to optimization credits or like AI credits of some sort anyway in the future? even if it's a subscription that comes with a certain number of credits or whatever. Because like if we start doing a lot more AI shit, are we going to need to do some
Yeah.
credit system? But at the same, I really want to talk to. I want to see if I can talk to the Nathan from Lex. Um,
Mhm.
I know they're a little different. Like they've raised some money, I think, and then they have like the every subscription model, like to fund them.
Right, right.
But I'm curious, like how they're making their pro models, like how they're thinking about their pro models, or because like right now they're like Cursor, where for $20 a month you can run an infinite number um
Mhm.
of like queries against like all the frontier models, and so it's like how are they making the unit economics work on that, or are they just choosing not to care right now?
Maybe they're self-hosting. Because you can self-host like an OpenAI model, and technically it's cheaper
Can you?
at
I don't
scale,
think
right?
I don't think you're not.
I think so. I think with
OpenAI
Azure
aren't
you
open
can.
sourced or fully open.
Okay, I could be wrong. Uh,
Maybe
couldn't tell you.
maybe you're right.
I haven't. I thought there was like an Azure instance that let you, like, it's not open source. You still, you know, pay for the usage of that instance. And it's like closed that way, but it might be cheaper than it having to go through like open, yeah, like a ChatGPT API key. I don't know. I've also just never looked into this past the two conversations people have told me. So
Yeah, I
um
know they have a separation between like free models, which are largely the cheaper ones, and then
hmm,
um the paid models. But still like $20 a month for those paid models is like, how are you doing
nothing.
that?
Yeah. I mean, also just VC welfare, you know.
Maybe
Like,
I
yeah.
don't feel like they raised a ton of money, but they might have raised some. Um,
Oh, I meant Cursor, but yeah, I don't know about
Cursor for
them
sure.
all.
Cursor's raised a fuck ton of money. They don't care. They're scorched earth. Like, yeah. So that's what we're trying to figure out right now, as well as just continuing to think about pricing. Um, anyway, what else is happening in Miscreant's world or in
Well, I started to talk to people and
margins?
show people margins.
Yeah,
Is
how'd
it
it go?
good? Oh, awful. It fucking broke. Yeah. I'm
Cla-
I'm miserable at the moment. I'm miserable. I'm glad, I'm happy my dev is going. It's taking vacation and enjoying time with his family, but like I'm sitting here for um so okay. Update from last time. One, we couldn't submit to the Webflow app marketplace because we need to have a landing page and all this sort of stuff set up. So I gotta do that. Um
Are you all even going to
which
be
is
an app, really? Or are you just going to be an
it
integration?
it's not a Webflow app, but we have to submit to the internal app marketplace so that we can auth through Webflow. Right now, it's just like a developer account that we auth, and we can only get access to like miscreants at the moment. But that doesn't fly for our clients. I played around with it. I mean, we paid for a prototype. We got a prototype to make sure that like certain things work and everything. Tables do not work the way I want them to yet. Slash don't really work, and you know that's a non-starter at the moment for us to. So we have to figure that out. Um, and then um, there's some like little tiny bugs that I've caught as I've been working on it. Like, it kind of dies once we want to load in like an entire workspace of sites in at a time. That means that the miscreants workspace is like 400 sites. So um, I've made a lot of tests and cloned a lot of things over the years. Like, I've had that Webflow account since 2018 or something like that, or 2019. So like so many clones of things, and so many backups of like in case like a client's thing like gets messed up or something. But um, yeah, still a lot to do. Feeling a little under the gun at the moment. Um, I think like there's a ticking time. There's w- when Webflow kills the editor, like I would really like to be at least in some level of like alpha or beta. Um, I don't know feasibly if that'll happen at this point. So I'm coming to terms with that. I think it's okay. It's not like anyone else is gonna have like I just don't see anyone else building this thing at the moment. I think we constantly still get like a lot of client validation that they really want this tool. Mainly, I just got off a call with a client. They're like, "Yeah, I would love to be able to give multiple people on my team like a place to write, and then I can publish their stuff." So that's good. Um, what else? I don't know. I feel like I mean, this is I feel like I feel like you maybe 3, 4 episodes ago where you were doing like, you were antsy about I mean, you were doing robotics. I think Austin was, I think doing some life things as well. I forget, but anyway, like, you both are busy, so, like, you had a week of a lull. So I'm, like, sitting here antsy about it. That being said, there's a lot of things I should be doing at the moment. Like, I'm not blocked on sending a landing page or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I I feel like there's just so much I feel like I've signed myself up for so much fucking shit to do at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Turns out getting a product off the ground that's, like, actually marketable is
yeah,
a lot of fucking work and way
yeah,
different than just a prototype. Um,
yeah. There's still a way we're still definitely a ways away from, like, me being willing to let a client use it, just because of, like, it's just missing. We don't have a forgot password flow, for example, at the moment. Um,
to be fair, we didn't have a forgot password flow, for our first 5 users.
that's true. That's fair. Um, I think some of the other, like, game breaking things is bothers me more than the forgot password flow, but, uh, you know, um, yeah,
Gotta
that's
get early customers with good memories who won't forget their password, and they won't know there's no forgot password flow.
that's true. That's true. I think our ICP is often folks who will forget their password. Um, I mean, it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be like you can type in a Google Docs basically, right? So yeah, lots to do, lots of new learnings. The demo was sad, but I think I don't know, it was good to do it. It was good to finally go and show someone and then break it on a call, I guess. Um, but yeah,
It's a good experience. You now know what breaks it, and you've got ideas, I'm sure, for, like, what you want to be done
yeah,
differently.
definitely, definitely. But turns out building an editor is fucking hard. So yeah, I think we gotta get out of here. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
no,
This was a short one, but
cool.
good to talk to you.
I'll see you next week from RSA. Peace.
All right.
Later.
See ya.